Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Kula.
Here.
Alder Kugel. Here. Mayor Moore.
Here, please rise to the pledge of allegiance. Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
We don't have any.
Oh, sorry. Then we're through the appearances, and we have several appearances tonight. First up is Peter McKeever. Peter, if you could come up to the microphone.
Up here.
Up here.
Nothing the same in this world?
And if you could state your name, your address, and this is regarding parking at Southern Circle.
My name is Peter McKeever. I live at 6301 Southern Circle. I've been there about 35 or 6 years, something like that, in that address. You have, first of all, let me thank you all for serving. I realize it's a chore, it's a job, it takes a lot of time, and you put your efforts into it, and I appreciate that. The good news is I'm not here to talk about well number 4. I'm here to talk about something that's really pretty minor in the great scheme of things. A parking ordinance that's proposed for Southern Circle on Fridays to accommodate the trash pickup. Let me make it clear that I am not arguing that parking should be allowed. My issues really have more to do with process than they do with the substance. I think there are other ways to address this. I don't know, the ordinance that you have has a number of other streets on it. I don't know those streets, haven't been on those streets. I'm only talking about Southern Circle, where we have a very tight community of folks who take care of each other, and folks have come to me and talked about this. The first concern is that we've gotten no notice that a proposal to ban parking on Fridays. Pelletari's never talked to us. The Department of Public Works has never talked to us. Nobody's come to say, would you think about doing this differently? Would you please not park there? I just think a simple communication, cooperation in a community like this is a much better way to do it. The other major concern I have is that we don't need to solve every problem in the world by adopting a new ordinance or a new rule that has sanctions. We can, in fact, solve problems by talking to people, communicating, and cooperating. Our neighborhood is a special kind of place. We take care of each other. We pull each other's trash bins in and out when there's a problem. We call each other when there's a car parked there. We talk about these things. We recognize that it could be difficult for Pelletary. On the other hand, in 35 years of living there, to my knowledge, no garbage has ever failed to be picked up because there was a car parked there. The trash has always been picked up. There hasn't been a problem. There are costs associated with this. They're minor. You know, you've got to make new signs, put them in the ground. A number of the neighbors came to me and said specifically, we don't want any signs. We like this street the way it is. We don't want any more ugly signs in the place. What if you get a new contractor who decides that they're going to pick up on Wednesday instead of Friday? Well, now we need a new ordinance. Several times a year, trash happens, the pickup is on Saturday because of holidays. Ours is Friday, it gets bounced to Saturday very often. That happens. I really think that it's trying to solve every problem with a new law or a new ordinance instead of communication, courtesy, talking to one another. My understanding is that this has been at the heart of the Well 4 issue, is that people in that neighborhood feel that they didn't get noticed. I don't live anywhere near Well 4. I'm not jumping into that argument. But I think the question of notice is important. The city ought to make it a policy, ought to practice to let people in a neighborhood know when they're going to do something like this. Concern has been raised, well, what if people have visitors or contractors on Friday? The resident can tell people not to park there. I've said, let's at least send a letter to the street and let people know that this is coming. I volunteered to hand deliver the letter, to save the city the postage. This is not, it's not a big deal. In the great scheme of things, parking on that street is not a huge issue. It's not, I'm more concerned about process and the concern that we seem to address in this society, particularly now. Every new problem that comes along, let's adopt a law, let's adopt an ordinance, let's create sanctions and put a ban in it. And I think that's not the right way for a community, especially a community of this size, a small, friendly community, to address a situation like this. It would, if Pelletier has a problem, come and tell us. The neighborhood will address it. I'm confident of that.
Okay,
I
thank you.
just think there's a number of issues here, and I would really ask you to take Southern Circle out of the ordinance if you choose to adopt it for the rest of the streets. So be it, but I would imagine they might be concerned about a lack of notice as well.
Thank you, Peter. I think your 3 minutes are good, so I appreciate you coming.
If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay.
All righty,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate your time.
And now we have Brian Sweetser. Brian, come on up to the mic. And this is regarding the firefighter Fill the Boot campaign. And Brian, again, if you could let us know who you are and where you're, and your address, please.
Okay. Brian's Butler, 1995 Lewis Street, Cross Plains. I've been a part of the Monona Fire Department for about 33 years, first as a volunteer, then LTE, and then the last 20 as full-time. So we're looking for in favor of this resolution, 335-17, as you have later on, to let us to go back at Monona Drive and Broadway. We've been there probably for, we've been doing this for over 20 years. When we first started, we did it in front of businesses. We did it at Monona and Nichols first couple of years. And then we finally got to Monona and Broadway, probably about 15 years now. So that's been our pot of gold, I want to say, that we have. And then the last probably like 10 years, we've been doing, it's a total of 6 hours we do, one time a year. We do 3 hours on Friday night, and then we try and pick a football Saturday, and we do 3 hours on Saturday. So we're getting some different folks, not always the people going home all the time. And we've been very prosperous of doing that. So when this ordinance went into effect, I wasn't very happy about it, but I'd give it a shot, try it somewhere else. We did go in front of 3 businesses, Quick Trip, Pick and Save, which is now Metro Market, and Walmart. And we did a little bit over 3,000, where normally we're in between probably $10,000 and $13,000 that we do in the same amount of time. So it was a big hit to us, about a 75% drop. So, and when we do this, our firefighters are very safe. We have vests on. We only collect when the light is red. And as soon as it turns green, we turn our backs to that traffic and let that go through. We don't impede anything, traffic at all, just during when it's the red light out there is when we do our collection. Yes, we are at the corners, and yes, we are in the medians, and we are visibly dressed in our vests at the time. So I wish the council and the mayor would hopefully approve this resolution for us to get back in the streets so we can make some better fundraiser and money for Muscular Dystrophy Association, which is a great organization that helps kids with these very horrendous diseases. So I know I'll have Elizabeth Nelson will be coming up hopefully next. I'll have, and she can tell you about some of the stuff that is really going on with them too. So
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We have Elizabeth Nelson from the Muscular Dystrophy Association, again about the Fill the Book campaign. Yeah,
Elizabeth is joining us via Zoom, yep.
Yeah, and because you are new to city council meetings, I apologize for not mentioning this earlier, but we are here to listen. So it's not a discussion, we're here only to listen, and we appreciate if you can keep your remarks to no more than 3 minutes.
Not a problem,
Welcome.
Mayor Moore. I sit on very many school board meetings here in Waukesha, so I'm very familiar with how these work. So
Okay.
happy to do that and respect your time. Thank you guys so much for having me. You might recognize me. I have been with Brian in the Monona Fire Department several times into several city council meetings to do check presentations for the incredible funds that the firefighters are raising for Muscular Dystrophy Association. I'm here representing almost 500 families from Dane County, just in that area, who really, this is a devastating loss of funding, this ordinance that has been passed for Fill the Boot and panhandling, so to speak, on Monona roadways. Our families rely on MDA services more than ever. We fund things like 2 local clinics here at UW Clinic and Dean Clinic. We have a free summer camp for our families that happens in Kenosha, Wisconsin every year. We have about 45 families and kiddos ages 8 to 17 that attend that clinic or camp free of charge each year. And it costs about $3,000 a child to go to camp for that week. That's also a week of respite for their parents, who are usually the primary caregivers as well. We've also had 25 treatments that have come to market in just the last 10 years, which is amazing. Those drugs don't happen without money like from Fill the Boot. The firefighters have raised over $700 million since this partnership started over 70 years ago. And we've invested $1 billion into research, just into research. So obviously it does not take a mathematician to realize we don't get where we are without their support. And when we can't be on the street collecting, that is a dramatic hit to our fundraising. I pulled their numbers, and since 2016, the Monona Fire Department's raised over $100,000 for MDA. If they had been off the street collecting, that number would have been 27,000 based on how their fundraising went last year. So a 75% reduction in fundraising, which we really rely on that more than ever from the community. I'm asking for an exemption or an amendment to this ordinance for the firefighters to collect donations on the street. As Brian said, firefighters are trained in safety to be out there collecting. We have a ton of signage so people know Fill the Boot is coming up. We post on social media. We make sure the public's very aware that we are out there. We also hold $1 million insurance policy per occurrence for Fill the Boot. So that takes some of the liability, almost all the liability off of the city for this program to operate. We are also happy to list the city as additionally insured. We can do work through a hold harmless, anything else that is required by the city just to kind of ease everyone's minds with the firefighters being out there. So I really appreciate your time on this matter and listening to us. And if you have any other questions, I welcome them. You can ask them now or any other time. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else here online or in the room to make an appearance? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the appearance section. There is no public hearing. There is no consent agenda this evening. That takes us to G, council action items. Number 1A, consideration of ordinance 8-25-794, establishing no parking here to corner at 6300, Bridge Road, brought forth by the Public Works Committee. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion about this ordinance? Questions, comments?
Mayor, I will add that this particular no parking situation is truly a danger to that intersection. It blocks sight lines. There's been near misses of pedestrians. I just want that to be known that this is a real safety concern when it comes to this particular no parking change.
Thank you. Anything else? Since this is ordinance change, I do believe that this would be a roll call. Could clerk please call the roll?
Alder Rademacher, Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder DeColo.
Aye.
Alder Kugel. Aye. Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 1B, consideration of ordinance 8-25-793, establishing parking restrictions at various locations to accommodate trash collection brought forward by the Public Works Committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion. Questions? Yeah,
Just a
Rachel.
question, I
Yeah.
don't know, if anyone is able to answer.
Director Stefani is
Oh,
online,
he is
yep.
on, okay, so, just talking about, were any of the streets, the neighborhood contacted by Pelletieri about parking issues? Or, and then also, like, how were these streets identified? Was it based on issues that they were facing, or just based on, like, streets that kind of fit the same
What?
tightness?
so Director Stefani, did you hear Rachel's question?
Yes.
Okay.
The list of streets was chosen by Pelletieri. They contacted us to see if we could assist them with obtaining no parking on Fridays on these streets. So it's strictly related to situations that they face on each of these roads. Pocahontas is a dead-end road without a cul-de-sac turnaround, so they have to back in and back out. Nishishin Trail, east and west, is the same. Starry Avenue is the same, no turnaround at the end. Arrowhead Drive has a cul-de-sac, and Southern Circle is a cul-de-sac. The difficulty there is these trucks are really large nowadays, and for them to maneuver in the cul-de-sac without cars is hard enough. If there's vehicles parked in the cul-de-sacs, they have an even harder time collecting. I've seen this firsthand with the Pelletieri trucks myself, so I understand some of the concerns that Mr. McKeever outlines in his appearance tonight. City staff has not notified residents on any of these streets until we have a solution or an approval from City Council. Pelletieri, I believe, has been in touch with residents on Pocahontas and Nishishin because on those roads, they are seeking residents to place carts on one side of the street, so they just have to go down Pocahontas and Nishishin one time. Right now, they go down each of those legs 2 times. They have to back out, and then they have to turn around and back in to collect the other side because there's no turnaround. So that's what I have for you at this time.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, Patrick.
Another question for Director Stefani. Have we received complaints of people not having their trash or recycling picked up?
Not on these roads, no. These concerns come strictly from Pelletieri due to the nature of their large trucks and the safety issue or safety concern they see with each of these roads. There might be roads coming forward in the future as they continue to collect in the city and experience issues on certain streets. There are more dead ends that we have that are not on this list that they're considering seeking our help with, but as of right now, these are the seven streets that they're asking our help with. We have had, similar issues. If you recall, we have it at Furchland Place. There were cars parked at that dead end, which made it difficult for Pelletieri to turn around. So that dead end is currently signed, no parking on Fridays for trash collection. We have had issues, I believe it was Eastgate at that cul-de-sac. There we did send letters to residents asking for cooperation. To my knowledge, the issue has not persisted there, but that's on the watch list as well. And that cul-de-sac has a number of cars being parked in it, and the driveways and parking areas, there's more there to deal with, but that's on the watch list. So, in addition to these 7 areas, there's more that we're looking at.
I have a question for Director Stefani.
Yeah, go ahead, Teresa.
Dan, can you explain more about what it means when a neighborhood or a stretch of road is on the watch list? So, for example, were they notified that Pelletieri was having some issue and that they were being asked for a change in their behavior? How does that work to be on the watch list?
That's new. That's my term. That was made up right now at this meeting. That's in relation to Eastgate. That's one area where Pelletieri asked us to send letters, and we did. I have not heard anything since then. They are being proactive with the Arrowhead Drive cul-de-sac and Southern Circle cul-de-sac, because those are areas they have difficulty in turning their large trucks around in. If there are cars parked in the cul-de-sac, it makes it harder. Their operators see issues with that. And like I said, I experienced this firsthand with the Pelletieri trucks where I used to live on the cul-de-sac, and I've seen it firsthand. So I do support their request for assistance with this.
Mayor.
Thank you. Yep, Rick?
Director Stefani, what would be the issue if we were to do some kind of public notification ahead of some of these changes, either for this or for future new parking ordinances?
Well, the public notification is very situational. There are certain times that we seek feedback from residents depending on whether it's a project we're working on. In this particular case, I don't believe the request is to gain feedback on whether residents approve or not. This is a safety scenario presented to the city by Pelletieri. And that's why it's come before the Public Works Committee and you at City Council for your consideration in helping Pelletieri with their safety concern. If this is approved, residents will go, or letters will go to residents on each of these streets explaining what was approved and why. Street parking everywhere is a privilege. It's not a right. Garbage collection is a vital service for every community, and we have an obligation to make it safe. We have an obligation to get it done. My biggest question is, if we don't approve this and residents look out for each other, what happens when people move? What happens when family and friends come over? What happens when people down the street have parking needs and they're not aware of it and a call comes in? Who's going to handle that? Who's going to, right now our city staff, we take the brunt of those phone calls, and Pelletieri has gotten a lot of bad rap for things that they weren't responsible for since the start of their contract. And thankfully, their trucks are outfitted with cameras all the way around the truck. Every single one of those complaints that have come in accusing Pelletieri of wrongdoing has been proven false because of their camera system. So, like I said, this is something that Pelletieri has asked us for assistance with. If you don't want to help them, we'll convey that message and we'll drive on. But it's a vital service, and they're out there every week doing this. They have nearly 3,000 stops that they have in the city, and I completely understand their concern.
Patrick?
Just a comment. I've been on the, Director Stefani, you know this, I've been on the snowplow with your crews with cul-de-sacs and navigating those trucks around the cul-de-sacs. And as I understand it, there's a couple of those cul-de-sacs where we've communicated with some of the residents to not park in the cul-de-sac during snowfall, but that doesn't happen because I remember going out there and having the cul-de-sac be packed with vehicles and people
Right.
trying to move and trying to navigate the truck around other cars and then doing a pretty poor job. So
Right.
that's just to address I mean, in a perfect world, I agree that we should just be able to talk to people and they'll just come on in and adhere to it. But in practice, that's not always the case. So,
Right.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Any other comments? Oh, sorry, Doug?
This is a question for Dan. How many signs are we talking about, and what would the cost be for these 7 streets?
Based on what I've reviewed, roughly, I'm thinking around 19 signs and about $1,300, give or take a few dollars. Typically like to place them about every 200 feet or so, but depending on the jog of the road and sight lines, I'm estimated 2 to 3 signs for each leg here. Each cul-de-sac, probably 3 signs. In each stretch of road, 2 to 3 signs.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Brian?
Dan, I heard you say that, like, hang on, if you guys choose not to go forward with this, you understand and you would communicate that message. When I look at the 7 streets and if I take all of the ones that are straight dead ends where Pelletier is having to back in or back out, to me, that's a clear safety issue and there's nothing you can communicate to people to do differently. Like, the safety issue exists because it exists. The 2 cul-de-sacs, when I look at them, you're really talking about actually a few properties. I get it, and I'm hearing you, Patrick, when you're saying, hang on, I've experienced it full well, especially with snowplows. I think what's different with snowplows is, although we all do watch the news to figure out when it's gonna snow, like, that's not as predictable as the garbage routine. I would be willing to possibly make a motion to amend this to remove the 2 cul-de-sacs, but proceed with all of the other portions.
So, can you more specifically say which streets that
Yep.
you're looking to make an amendment? And then
My
see if
amendment
you
would
can
be to keep the proposed ordinance with the removal of item number 6 and item number 7.
I'll second. And we have an amendment to the original, sorry, hang on, Doug?
I was going to comment on the
Okay,
amendment.
and Rick, you've seconded on the
Yeah.
amendment? Okay. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Doug,
Yeah,
on the amendment.
by the very nature of cul-de-sacs, because they are allowed to have less than standard frontage, there's less frontage. And I noticed there's just not very many places to park on Southern Circle within the cul-de-sac. But, it's great to say, well, it's a tight neighborhood, we talk, we do all this stuff, but, it could be somebody from outside, a contractor or guest who might be notified by the property owner that they shouldn't be there. But if somebody just is parked there, one of the residents, and they're not available when the truck gets there, and the garbage can't be picked up, if we don't have the ordinance, we can't do anything. Other than say, well, we can't get to it, so we can't get to it. If we had an ordinance, if the vehicle was in the way and unattended, it could be towed out of the way so that the service could be provided. I used to live in a cul-de-sac, not on the very bulb of it, but, there typically just isn't really that much room to park, and if there is somebody parked there, you're not gonna be able to pick up the garbage or the recycling. So, I think we need the ordinance and another public appearance.
I guess cute alert.
Yeah.
That's a first, I think. I don't know what I did. Yeah, all right. So we're on the amendment at the moment. Any other comments on the amendment? Yes, Brian.
I'll just say that what I heard from Dan was that there haven't been calls or reports about trash not being picked up in these cul-de-sacs, that these are being identified purely for turn radius. And I think similar to Eastgate and Dan's coined term tonight of a watch list, I would equally say these would be on that same watch list. And if there are true concerns, and they do have cameras and show, after communicating to the residents, if there's issues, then it goes from the watch list to, it seems like we need to do something about it. 'Cause
And when I asked about the watch list, that's also what I was envisioning. Because of my communication with the concerned resident, I did a lot of talking with folks, including Director Stefani, and as he said tonight, the city is already planning on sending one letter to all of the residents that would be affected, but not until after a decision is made by council. And I wonder if we could just flip the order of operations on that. It wouldn't cost any more city resources. There would still be the investment of time of one letter. It would just be to those on the cul-de-sac, informing them of basically the same things that we're considering for no parking. You know, the trucks are having trouble, the turning radius, the danger of hitting a car, you know, the danger of whatever dangers may exist, and to let them know that we will continue allowing, you know, we will not go forward with enforcement of no parking, but that they are being put on a watch list. If watch list is the correct phrasing, it makes no difference. You understand what I'm getting at. Just let them know that they're being given an opportunity to work it out for themselves.
Okay, so, again, we have an amendment on the floor. Anybody else on this particular amendment? Any other comments on this particular amendment? Okay. Then, since this is voice vote on an amendment. Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so let me just make sure that I've got the numbers. Why don't you put your hand up if
You
it's,
can't call the roll, even though you don't have to.
okay.
Just to confirm.
What we
Do a roll call
confirm.
if we could, please.
From the clerk calling roll.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
No.
Alder DePula.
No.
Alder Kugel.
No.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Radmacher.
Aye.
So it's 3 and 3. Okay. Then I am going to vote no. So that takes us back to the original. And we have a motion on the floor, do we not?
Yep.
So any other comments about the original?
I do have a comment. I sit on the Public Works Committee, and well number 4 was brought up this evening. And citizen engagement is really good. It's really important. And when someone takes the time to show up, it is rare and it's important. And when folks take the time to engage with an issue, to make a yard sign, to attend more than one meeting and express their concern, it's important. And it's a good thing, whether you agree with them or not, it's a good thing. When I listen to the folks who are upset about well number 4, the nature of their complaints fall into 3 different buckets.
Teresa, sorry, but we have an amendment on the floor specific to the parking, so well.
The amendment failed.
We're in the original motion.
We're on the
Right,
original.
So
we
now we're
have
back
the
to the original
We
motion.
have the original motion on the floor, which
I will
does
make it
not have
quick.
to do with well
I will make it quick. My point is, communication is the number one concern that residents are angry about. Don't tell us after you've already made a decision. That's not the time to do it. Whether it's what we've always done, the city isn't acting inappropriately, they're following what we've always done. But maybe what we've always done is not really working. So the communication about a change that will affect people is important, that it be done in at a certain time. So here we are again with what I believe is an issue of communication.
Anything else before we take a vote? Okay. Then, again, this is the original, this is original amendment, so this would be this would be a roll call, and I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
And this is for no parking on all properties.
Correct.
Mhm.
Alder Woody,
Aye.
Alder DePula,
Aye.
Alder Kugel,
Aye.
Alder Bernstein,
No.
Alder Rademacher,
No.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to new business, and before we get it,
Actually, we have one more.
did I skip one?
item
Oh,
G.
sorry.
One
Sorry,
C.
number 1C, consideration of resolution 25-8-2824, approving participation in the Dane County Urban County Consortium, DCUCC, and execution of the cooperation agreement urban county program from the city administrator. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion about this, or anything else you would like to say? No?
Who's available for questions?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. This takes us to new business, and I just want to alert people that letter H is off the agenda, has been taken off the agenda this evening. So when we convene in closed session, we will only be convening around the comprehensive plan consulting proposal, which is item number F, but H is off the agenda. Okay, that takes us to 2A, new business consideration of resolution 25-9-2825, accepting the 2024 financial audit report from the finance director.
Yes, here's Amber from CLA, Clifton Larson and Allen, to kind of give a presentation of our financial statements. So I'll kind of turn it over to you.
Excellent. It's been a while since I think I've been in person, or somebody's been in person, so nice to see you. My name is Amber Jurisky. I'm a principal with CLA and work on the city's audit. So I'm going to go through this high level. Mark and Neil both have my contact information. If there's more detailed questions, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to go through anything. So the independent auditors report, and if you have this electronically, you can follow along. Otherwise, again, I'll keep it high level. Our independent auditors report, we audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the remaining aggregate fund information of the city of Monona as of, and for the year ended December 31st, 2024. We issued a clean, unmodified opinion. That's the highest opinion we can provide from an audit standpoint. We do not look at all of the transactions of the city. We use materiality, thresholds, risk-based approach, inquiry, and so forth. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation. That is done through this. We do prepare the document. Mark signs the rep letter. Very few journal entries that we post. So what you're getting on a monthly basis and on a yearly basis is very similar to what you see here. Our responsibility is to issue an audit opinion. And so that's what we have done. Then just a couple items from a numbers standpoint. The general fund, so on page 18, the general fund at December 31st had just shy of $3.3 million in cash available. What that came down to in terms of fund balance We like to look at fund balance as a financial health standpoint, benchmarks and so forth. The total fund balance in the general fund was just shy of 2.4 million. We like to look at the unassigned portion of that. So that is kind of your rainy day fund available for resources. That at December 31st was about 28.5% of the general fund expenditures. That threshold, so what's kind of a good percentage, is kind of always the question. We like to recommend, a while ago it used to be like 10 to 20%. Inflation, things cost more. It's a little bit of a different perspective. We like to say more in that 25 to 35% range, depending upon what your cash flow is. Are you using property tax? Are you relying on property taxes or state aids? And what's that look like on a monthly basis? And the other piece to that is, are you saving for some capital projects? What's your funding sources for those? Are you using that fund balance or not? Those are the things that you can use to benchmark of is that percentage where you want it to be. 28.5 is healthy, but as you know, if you use that for reoccurring costs like payroll and operational costs, that number will dwindle very quickly. So our recommendation is always you want to use that for one-time expenditures and be able to rebuild that over time if you do dig into that. Debt service at December 31st had approximately 3.4 million, and that is restricted entirely for debt service purposes, payments. The general capital projects, about $3 million at December 31st, and that is primarily unspent bond proceeds, timing of when your projects come out. Those are the kind of the major funds. You have your tax incremental districts. You have a lot of them. So there's some additional reporting in the governance communication and in the financial statements. And if you have specific questions on those, I can do that, but it would take me a long time to get through all of them this evening. So the general fund, I do want to just add, the general fund, there was a surplus in 2024 of about $90,000. So you added to that fund balance. And most of that is coming from interest revenue that's generated over what was budgeted, which is good because you don't want to budget for interest on a regular basis because it's not a guaranteed. Then I'll just talk about the utilities for a little bit. The water utility ended with operating cash of about 3.5 million and total net position of about 12.8. Most of that, 8.2 of that, is the net investment. So really what we're looking at is about 3.6 million in unrestricted net position. And that kind of, there's not really a sweet spot number like the general fund, but it is kind of, you want to know what's your ongoing maintenance requirements and any capital needs that you would have and what those funding sources are to know is that reasonable or not. What you don't want to be doing is paying for maintenance projects with debt. So in the utilities, and that goes for the sewer and storm as well. The sewer utility had about just shy of $1 million in operational cash. And when I say operational cash, what that means is it excludes your restricted for debt service reserves and requirements. So those are separate from that. So just shy of $1 million in the sewer cash and about 4.7 million in net position, with 2.9 of that being your net investment in capital. So leaving 800,000 of that unrestricted. And you can see kind of the cash correlation back to the unrestricted. The stormwater, about $1 million in operational cash and about $1 million in the unrestricted as well. What I like to look at for utilities and enterprise funds from a financial health standpoint is try to look at the cash flow. And a one-year cash flow can't tell you a full picture, but if you pay attention to the cash flow year over year, you'll know, are your rates set to where they need to generate to for maintenance replacement or fit your capital needs, because that's really what you're working towards. So the water utility for 2024 added a surplus of about 609,000. Sewer utility about 70,000, and the stormwater about 163,000. And again, 600,000 sounds like a lot in the water utility, but you paint the water tower and that takes over half of that. So it really kind of comes down to what's that long-term planning when it comes to capital projects and maintenance. That really has a direct reflection. Or you replace a water main and that's $1 million right away as well. So those are good years for 2024, but again, doesn't tell a whole picture. You really want to make sure that you're putting that together over time. And then, as part of the audit, we also review the internal controls of the city. We do not issue an opinion on those, but we would be required to disclose any findings that we had or any non-compliance. We did not have any findings as it related to the financial statements, and we didn't have any non-compliance issues. That doesn't mean that we didn't make verbal recommendations. There is a management letter where we do have a recommendation of enhancement of internal controls. That's natural in a small environment. The most common findings we have at clients or cities your size would be preparation of the financial statements and then adjustments to the financial records. You have a CPA on staff. That helps that situation. So that's why there's neither one of those in Mark's ability to review those and prepare. So again, we do recommend make recommendations verbally, and then we do have the written management letter comment. The other piece is just kind of continuing to, that's in the management letter as well, continuing to enhance policies and procedures and written documentation as it relates to not just the policy, but the internal control piece. That's the procedure portion of that. The other document that you would have received is a management communications or a governance letter. And there's just a couple points in here that I want to make sure that we touch on. The city did have to implement GASB Statement 100. It's a little complicated, but if you see ghost columns or 0 columns in your financial statements, that is on purpose. That is the new standard when a fund changes from non-major to major. So it looks goofy, adds some columns, but it is required. And then we also evaluated for GASB 101, and that impact was immaterial to the city. That related to compensated absences. Previously only required payouts to be recorded, now requires any unused sick vacation leave type leaves that could be used in future years to be recorded as well. No difficulties encountered in performing the audit and no disagreements with management. And the rest of this is some informational and the management rep letter. Any questions?
Thanks very much. You said we have a lot of TIF districts. Is that a lot for a city our size in terms of dollar amount, or how would you characterize that?
Just when I say a lot, pure number, and so, but that's not necessarily a lot. That's not a lot. Doesn't mean too much. I think it's situational based, depending upon what your development plans and your targets are. And there's some communities who will do a TID just for a property. Some are bigger areas, or there's a blend of them. So I do plenty of other municipalities that have the same number, but it's just a lot of different activities. So I think very situational based.
Okay.
I just wanted to just mention something about that too. It's typically communities that are landlocked that don't have opportunities for greenfield development tend to have larger TIF districts because it's the development tool that is available to us. You know.
Makes sense.
Any other questions?
Any other questions on the financial report? Again, this is first read, so it'll be back next time. If you have any questions about the audit between now and the next meeting, feel free to reach out to Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Excellent. Thank you.
Kudos to Mark, too, for
Yeah.
bringing us to this point.
I would just say too that, while we have had an audit every year, we haven't always accepted, we haven't formally taken a vote to accept the audit. And so that's a change this year, that we decided that we should be on the record. So again, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah. That takes us to number 2B, which is starred for immediate approval. And this is consideration of resolution 25-9-2828, authorizing an exception to the Monona Code of Ordinances, Section 335-17, for the International Association of Firefighters Fill the Boot campaign, brought forward by me. This is start for immediate approval because the firefighters have picked several dates very quickly here. So if we didn't vote until later in this month, they wouldn't have much time to prepare. This was, resolution was put forth by me because obviously Brian and the MDA, while understanding the ordinance, asked the city if they would do it. So here we are. With that, you see, you've seen the resolution. I would motion to take it out of order.
I'll move to take it out of order.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'm a nay.
You were a nay, sorry. A
Nay
nay for
for
the,
out of order.
take it out of order, okay. Sorry. Anybody else? So now, do I have a motion to move the resolution?
I'll move to vote.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yeah, I do have a comment. Tonight, we're being asked to make an exception for a government agency, and this ordinance received, when it was before this body the first time, I was part of council, and there were some impassioned folks who were upset that we were not allowing citizens to occupy medians, I believe it was. I'm sensitive to the possibility that someone watching this meeting might think that we as a council are acting unfairly, that we're discriminating against one group and showing favor to another group. And speaking for myself, I would like to just go on record as saying that the way I see it is that this was a safety issue. Citizens were in harm's way. Citizens were causing distraction to drivers. The matter was brought to us by our public safety experts, our police. And this exception, the way I see it, is to allow public safety experts who understand traffic flows, who understand how to be in that place without causing dangerous obstacles to motorists. They are the ones who would be allowed in those places where citizens were not.
Patrick?
Question for city attorney. If we were to amend the ordinance and allow one group to be able to do this, what if another group came to us, a nonprofit, that wanted to raise money in the medians, and we said no because we only want this one group to be able to do it?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
You would conceivably raise the issue of equal protection, and presumably face the argument that the ordinance is not, in fact, public safety based. It's more anti-pandering. And there are issues with that because, as you know, pandering is a First Amendment right.
Yep.
And so we cannot preclude pandering. We can protect our intersections due to health, or public safety issues. So I think if you allow an exception and then another exception comes, you've sort of set that precedent. So you need to then be able to distinguish the two exceptions, the one that could grant tonight versus the one that could come later.
And, yeah, exactly. So I mean, I tend to concur with, and thought about this coming into the meeting tonight. You know, obviously we love our fire department, we want them to be able to do these things, but we discussed this at that initial meeting when we did this, that this would probably not be permitted any longer if we were to take up this multi ordinance prohibiting people from being in the medians and distracting traffic. Whether the fire department is safe or not, it still tends to take people's eyes off the road and focus on other things. So I think that if the underlying reason for creating this ordinance in the first place was one of safety, it's a really hard argument to say that one person is safer than another person. Because by that argument, perhaps, you know, folks in the median panhandling should just wear orange safety vests. Yeah. Which is silly, but yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
Yeah. This is a question for Attorney Cole. If we change the resolution such that it required that they meet all the safety actions that the fire department has suggested in terms of wearing vests, turning your back on public when there's a green light, several other things that they mentioned, if the resolution included those safety measures such that any future applicant would have to meet those same safety measures, it wouldn't invoke the equal protection issue. Is that right?
Well, I mean, you'd still face the argument that this is not a public safety ordinance. Presumably, anyone arguing against you would say, well, people in the median is by definition unsafe. Having no people in the median is safer than having any people in the median. Admittedly, if they have vests and aren't actively pandering on green lights, that is safer, but you still have people in the median. I guess as far as the conditions, I think you would want to be clear on what those are. And I guess I would ask you, what would you do then if an applicant comes in and says, I want to panhandle at the intersection, I'm willing to wear a vest and I'll turn my back when the light's green? You're setting the precedent for how would you deny that then, if they're willing to meet whatever conditions you would impose on the fire department? I would just be prepared to answer that if you were inclined to do that.
Okay.
Brian?
Bill, you're going to be busy. I think there are some unique pieces here. So, for example, if we're doing other work in the median, like the groups that are going to be there and provide the appropriate signage and a number of people power to be able to communicate the message, I think is unique with the fire department in comparison to many other groups that might come, individuals or small groups, that their ability with vehicle presence, people presence, signage, I think there is something unique and distinct that I think I heard two things too, and this is a question mixed in for that. I heard two dates, a Friday and a Saturday. But then what I heard for taking this out of order, that they've identified some upcoming dates. Are we talking multiple days or 2 3-hour shifts in the entire year? And can we describe what those are? Because I think that's very unique too. Like, if we limit it to.
Can you talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, please come up to the mic.
Because then I think it does.
And by the way, I
future
referenced
applicant.
several dates because they haven't settled on 1 or 2 dates, and they have, I think they
I
have
heard
also.
several, I was
Right.
like, hang on, I gotta make sure I
Right.
understand this right.
So it's 2 days, it's a Friday and a Saturday, 3 hours each day. So usually it's 3 to 6 on Friday, kind of like the rush hour, so like to hit. And then the other one is usually during before a football game. Let's say the football game's at 2 o'clock. So we'll do it from 11 to 2 on that Saturday and stuff like that. We try to do. We try to do it back to back, because we do a lot of signs that we put up on side of the roads. We got those big orange, yellow signs and stuff. Have you ever seen them coming down Monona Drive, that we have these signs down there that's letting us know? So a lot of people are ready to give us money when they come down, so, to get back to some of your ordinance about the panhandling, it's still going on. We still see it. As we drive around, we still see it, you know? It's not stopped, maybe stopped at Monona Drive and Broadway, maybe that intersection there, but there was somebody, I worked Sunday, I went down to the farmer's market with our engine, there's a person standing right out front there, panhandling right there. You know, he's not in Broadway, but he's right there on Broadway, you know, just before he comes out, so. You know, this ordinance, hasn't really affected that I've noticed. I know the PD has gone and shushed some people away and stuff like that, but we're still seeing it. It's just, hopefully you just kind of get to us, and I'm not saying you have to do an ordinance, you know, if maybe we can do something about, I don't know if this is option two, possibly for us to pay a fee to rent the streets for those 6 hours. And it's just gonna be those 6 hours once a year, one time a year. We're not gonna go over it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, similar to, we have someone right now renting enclosing the street, St. Teresa. St. Teresa Terrace, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one option. But.
Right.
I mean,
But just as a reference, you know, the ordinance was never, as Attorney Cole pointed out in his remarks, we cannot, panhandling is legal, we cannot make it illegal. This was not about panhandling, this was about safety. So the ordinance limits where you can panhandle, but it doesn't say that people can't panhandle, so, because we can't do that, right?
Yep.
All right, yeah, Patrick,
Yeah, to reiterate, panhandling is a First Amendment right.
That's right.
It's been proven by the courts time and time again. But I think that we should be considering potentially just repealing this ordinance if it's not about safety. If the original ordinance wasn't about safety and it was about regulating panhandling, and if it certainly implies that if we're going to allow certain groups or individuals to do it, but not others, then we should consider repealing the ordinance if it's not about safety.
anybody else down here?
Right.
Yes.
I have a question for the city attorney. How would we do this? Are we gonna add item 8 to the list of exceptions? Or can we just like grant an exception?
Yeah, you can just grant the exception if you'd like.
Okay.
Or you can conditionally grant it
Right.
with any conditions you feel are in the public interest. I would just encourage the council to, if you are going to condition your approval, be specific on what conditions you would expect. So when people come before you in the future wanting a similar exception, we can articulate, what is required and why it is that the fire department's allowed to do it, but other people are not allowed to do it.
Comments, questions on this other end? Yeah.
I'll just add the comment, I think that's why I voted no to taking this out of order, is I think it's very difficult for us at this point in time to be able to clearly articulate what are those items that we would require. Ideally, that would have been the discussion possibly at a public safety meeting for them to really identify, okay, hang on, if this is, an amendment, I do believe the ordinance is about a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the conversation about, hang on, what about Phil the Booth? Because that was on everybody's mind. And I think there was unique descriptions when we described, okay, field of boats is very, very different than a person holding a child in the center of the
Yes.
median with like no identifying information, nobody knows why they're there. That's a very different situation. And it'd be nice to be able to describe that in a way that can be upheld. And I just don't think we should do that on a whim at this body.
Would you like to postpone it for 2 weeks? I move that we postpone this item for
Well,
2
it would be tabling it, yes?
Right.
I think you could use either term.
He's right, postpone
Okay,
to a certain date
that
is a
works.
proper
Okay,
motion.
okay.
Postpone until our next council meeting, and in the meantime, have the appropriate staff kind of craft an ordinance or an exception to the ordinance, such that we can use that to guide our exceptions going forward.
I'll
Okay,
second that.
we have a second?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I would just say, like, if we're looking for the Public Safety Committee to weigh in on that, we wouldn't have time.
Nope.
We don't have a meeting before the next council meeting.
Right.
How are you guys timing wise? I mean, does 4 weeks impact you?
Right now, we get it set at September 19th and 20th. If we have to move this back, we can go into October. Would be a problem. So, if I ask to get a chance to get back in the streets, we can move it back, you know? So,
Given the issues that are raised,
Yes.
it would be beneficial to have the Public Safety Committee
Mhm.
weigh in on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we
Can I
have,
change my motion? To move that we postpone until such time as public safety has reviewed the changes possible to the ordinance or the exception, and then bring it back to council.
The second is fine with that.
okay, and the second is fine with that. So we have a new motion on the floor to postpone, public safety can take a look at it.
when's the next public safety meeting?
Any other,
When is it?
This end of September?
Second, yeah, the
24?
third week of September.
any other comments before we vote? Any other questions before we vote?
I guess my question is to my colleague, Alder Bernstein. Can you just help me understand what you feel the benefits are to having public safety review it? Is
Well, I
it
heard the
enough?
recommendation come from Attorney Cole and
Oh.
others.
Okay,
I'm going by their recommendation.
got it.
Yeah, I just think the discussion is that this is a public safety ordinance, certainly within the purview of the Public Safety Committee. And if you're going to articulate, safety protocols that anybody fundraising in the right-of-way is going to be doing, it should probably come out of that committee as your subject matter experts.
I would just say too that it's hard for me to imagine that some of the safety items that you were referring to, Alder Bernstein, would be at all, that we would have the ability to manage them in any way. I mean, if somebody's panhandling, let's go back to the example, somebody's there with a child in the middle of the median, or somebody's there panhandling with potentially some other issues, are they going to be wearing a vest? Are they going to know to turn their back? It just seems like a burden. It seems like a burden to place on panhandlers that, and then you're putting the police in the situation, or police department in the situation, are you not, of having to ticket people or warn people, which is what part of what they were concerned about to begin with, because that's not a good intersection to be
I think
doing
we're
that.
trying to craft an exception or some kind of review process before people actually take advantage of this. It's not something people can just do by right. They have to come before and get permission from the council or some other body before they can take such an action.
Okay.
That's what I'm foreseeing.
Okay. Patrick?
I mean, somebody's not standing in the median, it's a lot safer than somebody standing in the median, regardless of whether they're wearing orange vests, wearing
Right.
things, doing whatever. If it's a safety issue, it's a safety issue. I think it's fairly clear. And I think we're talking about an activity that is a nice thing that people do, and it's a tradition, and it raises money for a nonprofit. But it's not a municipal necessity. It's not a function of municipal government, an official activity, right?
Yeah, we've employees that work in the right of way all the time.
Yes.
Public Works is always working in the right of way.
Yeah, but that's a necessity. I mean, you have to do maintenance, you know. There's other avenues of fundraising. I mean, like I said, I want to diminish the work that the fire department does to do this, because obviously it's a good thing and it's appreciated by many, but this is not a thing that is a need of municipal government. And, you know, we settled it last year when we talked about this safety issue, and now maybe the safety issue is not really as big of an issue as we thought it was. If people are maybe conducting themselves in a safer manner, maybe it's permitted. And again, I just have a problem with the fact that it's okay for some, but not for others. And then we're gonna put restrictions on it, and then we're gonna try and manage it in such a way that opens us up to, let's just say it's a group that we don't like that wants to do it. And then we're gonna hear from the community that, why is this group in the median and this other group's not in the median? And it's just, when we do things like this, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that we're governing in a fair and impartial manner. And I think that by allowing one group that is affiliated with the city to do it, but not another group, or, I don't know, it just comes back to, did we regulate panhandling? Is that what we did? Because we don't like to see that in the community. You know, the community was upset because they saw people in the streets that they didn't like and were calling the police all the time about it. But it's okay if we have people that aren't panhandling. You know, so, just something to think about.
Can I respond to that? I think what I foresee happening is that we're setting up objective criteria. So it's not a matter of who's asking, it's a matter of what they're asking for. And that criteria would apply the same no matter who's asking for it. So we're not singling out one group for another. We're just saying, these are the parameters we need to see before this type of activity takes place.
Sure, but it's one group that has those resources, and it's another group that doesn't have those resources, right?
That's fine.
So you're looking at,
That's fine.
so
we do that all
now
the
we're
time.
talking about equity.
We're doing it all the time.
Hmm.
We discriminate against people of all kinds of permits.
Oh,
They have to meet certain criteria to be able to
You
get a
discriminate?
permit for their house. They have to draw a $3,000 drawing to get an addition to your house. I have to do that for an addition to my house. That's what is asked for by the planning department. So there are equity issues everywhere you look, but in this case, I feel that's illegal. That's how government operates.
This is a great discussion.
Okay, anybody else before we take a vote?
We're voting on the amendment, right?
On the postponement.
Correct, we're
Postponement.
voting on the postponement.
So we're voting to send it back, to send it to public safety?
Yeah.
Or just postpone to the next council meeting?
Well,
Postponing.
No.
Back to public safety and back to the council.
The purpose of postponing it 4 weeks was to give a chance for it to go to public safety.
Okay.
I believe unless, but look at the,
That's what the motion was.
okay.
Okay. All right, so, all those in favor of the motion to postpone, say aye.
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 like this side of the room before.
Those opposed?
No.
Nay.
So we're 3-3 again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. No.
No.
So that is so the motion to postpone is defeated?
Is, what
Is
did you say?
defeated. The
Yep.
motion to
Yep.
postpone is defeated.
Yeah.
And so therefore, do we have original motion still in play?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, Teresa and Patrick seconded.
Thank you. So we have the original motion in play, which is the original resolution. Because we already took care of an amendment that
So the original motion that we
was
will
to
now
approve
vote
it-
on is
was
as we
to-
see in our
was
packet.
to, as you
Okay.
see in your packet,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The original motion, as you see in your packet. Okay, so that's, yes,
Are you done?
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't support granting the exception because I just don't think it's safe.
Yep.
I mean, I've been driven through it. I know they take precautions. Obviously, it's a great cause that everybody would, wants to see prosper, but, and I do worry about if we grant it here and we set up criteria, become this big thing, and then, like, how many of these would you allow a year? If some, other groups said, well, we could do that and raise money. But mainly, I just think it's not safe, so.
I would agree with that. I think that's the underlying motivation for me is that it's, we determined that it wasn't safe once, but now it's maybe safe. No, I don't think so.
Okay. Anything else before you want, Brian?
I would just say my concern, as it's written, is it doesn't have objective criteria, and it would be difficult to deny any other group. And so, like, I can't support it in its original format, and that's why I was hoping for us to be able to have a postpone it, but,
Yeah.
Also, I did want to add too, that, hold on one second, that Monona and Broadway is the #1 crash intersection of Monona. And it's a hotspot identified in Dane County. So, is it
Yep.
safe to be in the median and to be in the road? Probably not.
Okay.
We've actually saved a few people that had medical emergency in their car too, as we were doing the fill the boot too, so.
Yeah.
We did do some good at times too when we were
Yeah.
out there.
Yep, and again, it's not about you guys. It's not about you specifically. It's about.
Yep. Any other comments before we vote? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
nay.
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Brian. Okay. That takes us to consideration of resolution 25-9-2826, authorizing the creation of a full-time position in the planning department, put forth by city administrator. This is also start for immediate approval, precisely because this is something that we would like to get in motion sooner rather than later. We have,
Pending vacancy.
yeah, we have a pending vacancy that, so I like to just turn it over to Doug for now, and then we'll take motions in a minute.
Thank you. Yes, that's the reason for the request, is the upcoming vacancy. The assistant planner has submitted his resignation, and that will be effective September 12th. So we'll be down 25 hours a week in the department starting then. So seeking to, with council's blessing, for this to move forward as soon as we can.
Did you want to add anything to this?
This is essentially, functionally is taking two part-time positions and combining it into one full-time position. So
We believe the budget impact on this will be no impact to the levy as currently proposed.
And I'm sorry, I can certainly go into more detail. I thought this was on the out of order. I'm certainly
Yep.
prepared to go into the more accurate.
Okay. We could, I could take the motion now to take it out of order. Somebody wants to make a motion to suspend the rules and take it out of order?
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Thank you. I have a
Second.
And I have a second, okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, so here this evening to discuss.
Do we need to vote on it? Don't we need to
Did
vote
I
to
do
take it
that
out?
again?
I just do need, if there's any nays, I think we just need to
Yeah,
make sure.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you. Good evening. Here to discuss and present on a staffing request for the planning department. As I mentioned, Assistant Planner Thor Jepson, who is kind of second in command here in the planning department. He works part-time, 25 hours a week. It's a position that was added back in 2022. He has submitted his resignation, and that will be effective September 12th, so a week on Friday. Seeing this as an opportunity, along with the fixed-term nature of the Planner 1 position that recently came before this body, to evolve the workload, to evolve the department sort of with the workload and with the needs of the planning department. So the memo that I included in the materials includes current operations, responsibilities, as well as some recent achievements of the department for reference, along with some recommendations for sort of short-term and longer-term changes and opportunities as well that are suggested. So this ultimately culminates in the request to hire a full-time salaried city planner. To clarify, this would be consolidating the Planner 1 position when the current employee, when their time with the city ends, which would be December 5th of this year, and then also combining the assistant planner position, which is soon to be vacant, to allow for that one full-time salaried city planner position. I think having gone through the hiring process recently for a part-time position, I just see sort of the benefit there of being able to offer that salaried position, but also, again, the workload opportunities there. So this would not be sort of in addition to those positions, but would instead be consolidating those, with the Planner 1 to be consolidated by the end of the year. So the responsibilities of that is sort of fleshed out in the document, both for the department, but also some of the oversight, some of the supervisory responsibilities that are included there as well, including building inspection, code enforcement services that have sort of come into the planning department. Happy, to take that on, but just in terms of the additional workload, it certainly adds to the time and responsibilities there as well. So as far as the budget impact to this, I've worked with the finance director, city administrator, and director of administrative services to discuss the costs of this and the budget that we could have. Concurrently with this, we're also looking at reallocating the time that both myself and the assistant planner's time was allocated and budgeted to. So there are different responsibilities there. There's planning, CDA, Renew Monona, as well as the sort of TIF category as well. And so, as you heard earlier, we do have a lot of districts in terms of just the number of those, but the amount of work that's within those as well. So the reallocation there was done to sort of better represent the time, certainly that I'm spending on work within those districts, the creation of the TIDs, but also the redevelopment within them and the workload that comes with, such that ultimately this request is to have a near minimal or near zero impact, to the general fund, with funds coming from some of the tax increment districts instead. So I know the finance director is here to be able to sort of answer a few more details to that, but included with the request, I did also include some of the suggested scope and roles of the city planner position, really seeing this as kind of an evolution of the existing roles with greater sort of leadership and points, taking point on certain items and really taking some of the workload and some of the work for the general planning department as a whole. Certainly happy to go into any more detail or answer any questions.
Thanks, Doug. And this was approved by the Finance and Personnel Committee tonight.
In your comments, you said that on the second read, which I think we decided wasn't necessary, that you would send us a job description. Could you still send that to us when you're?
Certainly be happy to. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, again, we're taking this out of order, but you're saying you'd like to get the job description regardless?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Brian?
I'm just saying that I think we need a motion for this item. Like, we did the motion and the voting to take it out of order, but we never made a motion to.
Okay,
approve
sorry,
this.
I slipped back into my plan.
So all I'm saying is, I
Yeah.
move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Okay, now go ahead.
I don't wanna stop
I
you.
slipped back into my plan.
You're on a
committee.
roll, so, like,
Yeah.
Thank you, Alder.
Yeah.
figure we just let you keep going.
Slip back into my plan commission days where you
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
it before you make a motion. Yeah, so, yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
questions, so.
Mayor,
Yeah.
2 cents that really isn't the lawyer's role, but I work with Doug on a near daily basis. I probably know as much as he does, other than maybe Neil probably has a better understanding. And I can just tell you, there's too much work for Doug to do on his own. And he's too diplomatic to say it, and I'll just bluntly tell council, it is just, there is too much work going on in Monona for one person.
Yep. I have a question
Yeah.
too. How common is it for there to be one person in the planning department in a municipality, like your peers? Tell me of another department that you know of that has one person in the department. That's not like a town of like 1,000.
500.
Yeah.
I would say diplomatically, it sort of scales with population. Most that I'm aware of, it's at least a couple, 2 if not 3. I think that's something I seek here is sort of the ability to empower this individual, the city planner position. With some of the elements, there's thing, zoning administrator, for example, maybe one individual, economic development, maybe somebody else. So that kind of, there's different elements, different responsibilities that I think could absolutely be shared, which would assist with that. But I'm not aware of any sort of exact comparisons. They're all set up a little differently, but typically normally a couple.
And then, approximately, like, if you were to take into consideration all the after hours meetings, the committee staffing, the work leading up to committee meetings, after hours emails and telephone calls, and meetings off-site, and all this other stuff, how many hours a week do you work on average?
Be honest, Doug.
Probably around 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It might be conservative, I would say, Alder.
Yeah, and I would just say too, as somebody who has worked closely with Doug the last few years, that goes back to the number of staff too, that, and what has been alluded to, there's a lot piled into this position. It's not just staff. It's not just dealing with developers and whatever developments might be in the pipeline. It's, zoning considerations, it's,
If we go through the list,
yeah,
we could. It would
building
be
inspection. I mean,
planning and zoning,
right.
building inspection, code enforcement, landmarks, sustainability.
STR?
We could throw STRs on there as well. Floodplain management. What else am I missing, Doug? I'm sure there's probably 3 or 4 more that I'm not even getting
Yeah.
to. So this is all coordinated through like 1.5 staff right now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna comment that I appreciate you kind of writing out, what this would mean if we, in the short term, if we don't fill this role. And, I think our citizens appreciate being able to call and talk to someone about what they have pending. And so, I just appreciate that you took some thought into, what that could mean to our community if we don't act quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so with that, we'll
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I have just a really minor question. I don't know if it's my misunderstanding or if it's a typo. On page 34 of the packet, so at the bottom of that page, it talks about there being a decrease to the fund balance of the Renew Monona Fund, but then higher up on the document, it talks about an increase to the Renew Monona Fund. So is that just a typo, or am I not understanding it?
I don't have
34 of the packet. Let me see
Page
here.
34, it would be the number, yeah.
So, yeah, the decrease in the fund balance is, so Renew Monona, so it's kind of like the next step is how we're paying for this. And that's kind of reallocating some of the budgets, his salary, current salary was allocated 76 to planning side, city side, 7% to CDA, 10% for New Monona, and 7% for TIF. I'm looking to change that, so there's more getting allocated to the different funds.
But I guess I
should
would
be
be,
an increase
I would
in
be
fund.
satisfied with your answer being, it's not a typo.
Yeah.
And Teresa, you and I can talk some other time. We don't have to take up meeting time. I just wanted to make sure, that would be satisfying to me. I would be satisfied with that.
It's a decrease in the fund balance by $653.
Right. But for TIF also, it says increase in one area and decrease in another. And since I understand now it's not a typo, it's just something I need to learn. And I'd be happy to do that outside of meeting time. Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. That takes us to item number D, which is also start for immediate approval. A motion to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. Okay, this is consideration of resolution 25-9-2827, amending the 2025 operating budget for this full-time planning position that we just gave the thumbs up on from the city administrator.
Do
I have a motion?
We have to vote to take it out of order?
All those in favor say aye.
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 I swear to God. Opposed? Yeah. Opposed? Okay, we're taking it out of order now. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I'll
Do I
second.
have a second? Okay. Now we are available for discussion. Mark?
Yeah, just a quick way of paying for this. So this is really what you're voting on is amending the reallocation of the staff allocation from the director and from the part-time now to the full-time employee. So basically, even before this even happened, I've been working with Doug to kind of change the allocation that we were using because it wasn't matching up to what he's spending his time with doing. Like, he does a lot with planning, but he actually does a lot with CDA and the TIFs, and we're allowed to transfer time to the TIFs. And right now we have, every project that he's working on is in the TIF fund, so we might as well take advantage of that while we can. And it's actually where, he looked at it, and he's the one who's kind of watching his time, what he's spending on it. And this is kind of where we determine the allocations. So, with the change of the allocations, there's less time is in the general fund side, which is the property tax side, and more in the TIF side. So change this allocation, being retroactive, would have a zero impact on the general fund side, so zero impact on the property tax levy for the future. For the future, but there will, we'll increase it based on whatever the natural increases will be as part of the operating budget. But there is no impact on the 2025 budget if we make this allocation change. That's how we're doing it. And based on what he's saying, and looking at the allocations, and we kind of talked a lot about it, to me they seem typical of what he's spending his time on.
Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, this
This should be a roll call.
This should be a roll call. Got it. Yep.
Back it up.
Yep. It's a roll call. Please, clerk, please call the roll.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Kugel.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Go forth and multiply.
Get it posted, brother. Go, go, go.
Okay, that takes us to item number E, which is also start for immediate approval, consideration of resolution 25-9-2830, authorizing new construction proposed within the redevelopment area number 6 for First Choice Dental at 900 East Broadway, brought forth by the Community Development Authority. And I will ask to take it out of order, suspend the rules and take it out of order. And I can explain first the reason why we are suspending the rules or requesting to take it out of order is that this is a project that has already been approved. We've already gone through the PIP. We've already done everything around this project, and they want to get a shovel in the ground sooner rather than later. That's why it's really a formality that we're authorizing the new construction, because we've authorized the new construction in every other way. There's nothing new.
Correct, Mayor. Correct.
Right? With that, I would like a motion to suspend the rules and take it out of order.
So moved.
And I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to consider the resolution.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
Thank you. So this request is for the construction of a new dental office. This is the most recent, the Joe's Fire Station property on East Broadway, and First Choice Dental would like to redevelop the site and construct a single-story dental office. So this is located within the boundaries of Tax Increment District number 6. This district was created back in 2010 and is most notable for the 2 medical clinics that were constructed within it. So because it's within the redevelopment area as well as the Tax Increment District, this does need community development, CDA authorization, as well as city council for any redevelopment or any project like this to proceed. So there is no TIF request to this. It's simply the planning approvals for the project, with it being within this district. So this did go through Plan Commission for a pre-hearing, as well as formal consideration of their request, and it was unanimously approved at their August 11th meeting. And it went through the CDA meeting, again, for the redevelopment area number 6, that August 26th meeting of this year, and also was unanimously approved. So we're also joined this evening by Brad Crowley of 1848 Construction, who would be working on the project, here to answer any questions as needed, and I'm certainly happy to answer any as well.
Right. Any questions for either Doug or 1848? No? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Brad.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad. That takes us to convening closed session. Number F, convening closed session under Wisconsin statute section 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating on the purchase of public properties or investing public funds or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargain reasons require a closed session. Again, this is put forward for the comprehensive plan consulting proposal. Do I have
Mayor, before you entertain a
yes.
motion, in accordance with the City of Marinette decision, we're also required to advise the public as to why we believe we should go into closed session. The city has proposals for a comprehensive plan consultant. The purpose would be to go into closed session so council can deliberate concerning the requirements and expectations the city would expect of a consultant, and to be able to advise the city's negotiating team in such a way that the proposers are not privy to the directions that you'd be giving to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. With that, I would like a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kugel. Aye. Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher. Aye. Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder DePool.
Aye.
Okay, wait, closed session.
Just try the next door. Okay, hold on.
All right, so we have reconvened under open session. Is there a motion here?
I can see from here.
I would move that we direct staff to negotiate contract for the comprehensive plan update with Vanderwall and Associates.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say.
Hold on, Mayor, I gotta turn.
He knows.
Oh, you turn things off.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank
Can
you.
we just repeat that just for the sake of the audio, so for the recording, what was just passed? I don't think the microphone was operating.
The motion was to direct staff to negotiate a contract for the comprehensive plan update with Vanderwall and Associates.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. That was approved unanimously.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
That takes us again, number H is taken off the agenda tonight, so that moves to I, consideration of resolution 25-9, 2831, accepting a proposal and authorizing staff, oh,
I think we just did.
that's what we
Yes,
just
I think
did,
that's-
isn't it?
Yep. That vote we just had will take the place of that item right there.
Okay. Sorry. So that takes us to reports of committees, commissions, boards, mayor, city administrator, city attorney, department managers, sustainability efforts, and diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. We'll start down at this end. Rick?
Senior Citizens Committee passed its operating budget. Everything seemed to go well within the 3% that they were requested to do a budget for. They raised $2,000 through a wish list. They just put out there what they're looking for. And they raised $5,000 through other revenue, I think through a tour operator, and I'm not quite sure how that worked, but $5,000 is $5,000. And I don't know if people know, but their newsletter, they actually make money from it. They just put all their items in, someone publishes it, puts in all this advertising, they get money back. And the Friends of the Senior Center have 500 members, so it's a pretty cool deal. I also passed out a little handout that the Senior Center, Diane, is doing called Bus Buddies.
Yeah.
So they're going to give people an opportunity to go with a group of people, provide some kind of community event behind it, and experience a metro trip. So hopefully that'll get more people on the buses. Library Board met last week. The highlights of their summer reading program. The statistics are pretty amazing. In 2021, they signed up 635, and in 2025, they signed up 1,535. So that's almost triple, 2.5 times. And the rate of completion for the registrants to 2021 was a little under 19%, and in 2025 it's over 60. So that's 3 times in 4 years. So it's a very, very successful program. They ran out of giveaways. They had 20 of them. They're going to have to find some additional giveaways to make the program continue to grow. Their Dane County funding is decreasing a little bit, so there will be challenges with their operating budget. Sustainability meets next on September 4th. Library Board meets September 16th. And senior citizens won't meet again until next budget season. They go into a little bit of hiatus. So that's my report.
Thank you.
All right. I'll just start with transit, which Alder Bernstein and I are on that committee together, and I just want to thank you, Alder Bernstein, for your contribution to the Bus Buddies program with the Senior Center. That's just fantastic. It's a great way to get seniors more comfortable with riding Madison Metro. At our last transit meeting, we did a lot of, we're getting these fantastic just data dumps of raw, Excel data from Metro, and we've got members, myself included, who just really enjoy digging into it and nerding out and looking at the data. One thing that we noticed in our last meeting was that some of the reports, not all, but some of the reports that we get from Metro count only onboardings in Monona, whereas in the past, all of the reports that we got from First Student counted both on and off. So it was kind of one of these moments where we were thinking, like, perhaps the numbers of riders are even greater, right, that were from Madison Metro. So we're just going to continue to moving forward and getting more of that raw data, and specifically asking that we have offboardings in addition to onboardings so that we can analyze that ourselves. Paratransit rides are up. We've got one member that has reached out to MESBA and joined one of their mixers, some networking events at True Coffee, and she heard a lot of interest from employers in giving employees Metro passes because if there's a pre-tax benefit to the employer. And that was just a really great connection that she was able to meet and to get that going. We've heard that our Public Works department is installing pads. And Brian, are they going to be complete? Do you know they'll be complete next year, getting all the
It's
bus
not all of
stops?
them?
Not, but
There are a
some,
number.
yeah, a number of them. I wasn't sure. I couldn't recall. And we meet next week, as Alder Bernstein said, and we'll be talking about some budget matters. So that's transit. Community media, we meet next week. Just a reminder to everyone, the call for our, what'll be September newsletter, I think that's the end of this week, with publication next week. And for anyone listening on the recording, if you're not signed up to get the city newsletter, you can do that on the website. It's a fantastic way to keep up on some of the things happening in and around Monona. Next, I'll mention that sustainability meets this week on Thursday. Tonight, we heard that our assistant city planner has turned in his resignation, so that would really impact the sustainability committee in the short term while we look for a replacement. Thor Jepson has been fantastic, super helpful with everything on the sustainability committee. Really sad to see him go. In our Thursday meeting, we'll be talking about a couple things. In particular, the Monona Tree Program will be transitioning more formally to having that formally brought under staff control, Parks and Public Works, and we'll be talking a little bit about getting the ball rolling on that transition. For those listening, go to the city website, search for Monona Tree Program, and get your orders in before October 15th. The whole reason why the sustainability took this on is because Monona's trees are in decline. And while city staff are doing a great job at keeping on top of replacing the trees that are removed from city property, there's really no way to force residents to do the same. And years ago, an inventory of all the trees in Monona was conducted, and there were over 1,000 of our city-owned trees that were identified as being stressed or in decline. And so within the next few years, we're gonna lose a lot of really mature, beautiful trees that suck a lot of carbon from the air. So assisting residents or helping residents in any way we can to plant trees on private property is really the missing piece of the puzzle. So this program allows residents to piggyback with Parks Tree Order. You can order trees at a great price, good quality trees. You can even, you order in October, they arrive in the spring of the following year, somewhere around Earth Day, and you can even request that they be delivered to your door and planted by volunteers. So, great deal. The last thing I'll say about sustainability is that I just want to thank the mayor and our city administrator and our soon outgoing liaison, Thor Jepson. We were able to get together last week and just start to, or continue talking about how is it best achieved that the plans that we currently have, the Monona Sustainability Plan, the Green Tier Legacy Communities Plan, and the commitment that we have for achieving 100% renewable energy, how do we implement? How do we continue implementing? How do we move those goals through each department? How do we build an accountability? How do we have a reporting mechanism so that we get more frequent updates on our progress that we've made toward achieving those goals? And I thought it was a really great meeting. So a lot of fantastic work. And then Public Works meets this week, but I'll let our chair talk about that.
I'll keep it simple. Public Works meets tomorrow, and the focus will be operating budget. Plan Commission meets Monday. That's it.
Thank you. Doug?
MPO meets also tomorrow night. Among other things, I'm expecting that the interstate project will get the approval to move forward, and that's it.
Public Safety met last week, and we discussed the capital and operating budgets for fire, EMS, and police department, and communications. That's it.
Facility, I know you had my first facilities committee meeting, not last week, but the week before. We talked over library projects, so both the HVAC and roof projects, so that was good to hear about. That's all that.
Great. Thank you. Maureen?
No,
No. Okay. I just have a couple of things. One is, obviously, you guys got a copy of the update on well number 4 in public safety building, and I just, as I did anyone who received that update from me, anytime you have any questions about any of it, feel free to reach out. Always available to chat, always available if you want more detail, whatever. I'm always available about anything. So, I encourage people to reach out. I just wanted, and I also wanted to share that, with the shooting that happened in Minnesota, the church shooting that happened in Minnesota, I learned something that our force, our wonderful MOPD automatically does that I was just really touched by, which is that they, they're not only responsible for, the Monona School District, the high school, whatever, the whole school district, and have interactions with all of them, but they also, pay attention to and interact with regularly One City Schools and MG21 and IHM. And so after that shooting, one of the first things that the chief did was to reach out to the principals of all the schools to let them know that there would be officers coming by the schools more frequently, like, right afterwards, just to make, doing extra laps, patrols, whatever, around the schools, just knowing that people tend to be pretty anxiety-ridden, and basically reached out very sweetly to all of them to say, we'll be doing extra patrols, and if there's anything at all that beyond that we can do to support any of your students or staff or whatever, please do let us know. And got some fantastic responses back from those principals. So I just want to say kudos to MOPD for doing that. And today, this morning, for 4 hours, three and a half hours, something like that, was my first foray into the capital budget as mayor. That's after the hours this weekend that I spent looking at it, but Neil and Mark and myself and each of the department heads, the first half of the department heads, came in today and went through the priorities that have already been passed through committee, for capital budget, since that comes first, and the other departments will be, what is today? Will be on Thursday. So, we'll have the first draft. We're looking at the first draft right now, and so after we meet with all the department heads and we listen and learn from them about the priorities and the order in which they put things, and
It's actually tomorrow morning.
is it tomorrow morning?
It's tomorrow morning.
There you go, see? It's my schedule again. I'm sure it's in my calendar. I was thinking we had a day off, but obviously not. And thank God we only do 3 hours in a row, because it's a lot. But anyway, it's great. It's wonderful to listen to the staff, and they, they were given pretty strict instructions. They know we have a lot to do with very little money to do with, but so it's all going well. And I just talked to him about it tonight, but Mark will be getting committee of the whole dates out to everybody pronto.
I'll make sure he does tomorrow morning, yeah.
Because in fact, we have, the capital budget is going to be voted on, it's scheduled to be voted on November 3rd, and so the first read will be in October. And in order, and so in order for that to happen, we need to have committee of the whole much sooner. So we'll get dates out so we can get it in our calendar. That's it. Attorney Cole.
I have no report, thank you.
You sure?
Yep.
And we have no other staff or.
How was your vacation? Yeah. Only kidding. Okay. Yeah, with that, I have some, a number I of appointments of Jennifer Verge to the Sustainability Committee and 3 new members to the Ad hoc Comprehensive Plan Committee, which I sent information on earlier today. And I would be delighted to take a motion.
I'll move approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, appointments are good. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
We are adjourned.